This month, our sellers have booked 48 meetings in total, and it's only the 8th of March. The reason they've been able to do that is because we put them through a very meticulous process to find the A players. Find the people that we know will crush it every single time. And in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the exact hiring process that we go through to source some of the best candidates that we've ever worked with. Around the world, 30 to 40% of the time, a bad hire is made. Now, we currently have 8 active sellers and we've only ever made 1 bad hire, and that was due to unseen circumstances at the time. So 88.5% of the time, we make a good hire. And this week, we're looking to hire 4 more people into roles that we currently have open. And so how do we do this? Well, one of the best ways to source candidates is from existing infrastructure. So an example of this is free communities on Skool. And so you can literally go onto Skool, go to discover communities, and you can type in appointment setting like this. And it will come up with all these communities of people who are interested in appointment setting, they want a job, plus they've already gone through a program to have extensive knowledge in the area. So you don't have to go through that task of having to train someone. You put them in their inbox, they mess up, and you're like, oh my God, now I have to jump in myself. That doesn't happen because you're taking it from a community where they've actually invested in themselves and able to go through the program and be the best, because that's why they've invested in themselves. So an example is I'm part of a community here called Appointment Setting. Unsurprisingly, 6,300 members in here, and I can basically just post a job post and get people to apply. But you're probably thinking, well, I can get people to apply, cool, but how's that vetting people? How's that screening them to find the best ones? When you make this post, you must put out what's called an intake form. So this form is already the first gate that sellers have to go through in order to be hired by us. And so very simply, this intake form basically has a little message at the top, which is we built this after closing 600K plus in DM-based sales and booking over 400 qualified meetings. That was in a year. This opportunity is designed for individuals who want to build a career in high ticket sales just like we did. We work with ambitious, driven people who, and then we have a list of priorities that we are looking for. That's what you want. You want to say, look, these are the criteria that I want you to hit. And that way, the likelihood of finding someone who hit that criteria increases. So what do we actually ask for in the form? Obviously their email, you want a way to contact them. Their full name, their WhatsApp number. Now we do all communication through WhatsApp, but if you prefer Slack or Telegram, whatever it is, please use your preferred platform. Always like to ask, and this even comes up again on the interview later in this process, is we want to ask them, can you commit full time? If someone can't commit full time, then they're gonna it's like when you dip your toe in the water and you're like kind of in, but you're not. You don't want that in a role, because if someone has split focus, where they're doing one role here, another one up here, ultimately the quality that they'll be able to deliver to your company will be significantly reduced because all their attention isn't on one thing. So that's the first question we ask. Next, are you comfortable starting commission only during the trial period? The reason we do this is we want to get sellers in and we want to see if they're hungry. I started in a commission only sales role, so did my co-founder. And what that does is it incentivizes you because you are reliant on your own input, and that's what dictates your output, aka your commission, how much you get paid. That is when you are going to find the people who are the best. They are the A players. And now what we say to all our offer owners is once you find someone who is happy with commission only, they've been consistently good for 3 to 6 months, you can look at getting them on a base. And that's where you pay them the same payment every single month, and then obviously commission on top. And that's more for retention of the employee, keeping them in the role, which is good. If selected, are you happy to fully transition after a successful 7-day period? Now, we always do a trial. The thing is, with hiring, you can have someone say everything that's right on the interview, but when they actually get to doing the job, they do not follow through on their word. Now, we've come up with a process to kind of wither out these people who tend to do that, but in some cases, maybe they slip through the cracks. And so you want to make sure you do a trial period and make sure they admitted that they're happy to do a trial period. That's why we asked that question. Next, are you okay to work between 2 to 2200 UK time? The reason we do that, most of our offers, they operate between those times. You've obviously just got to put on the form, hey, these are the times you'll be working. Are you happy with that? Are you open to staying in a seller role for minimum 6 months before being promoted? Now, it does depend on your company. If you've got a company where it's very fast paced and people tend to progress quite quickly, then ultimately it won't be 6 months. But in most cases, that is the average time that you want to see if a seller is worth your time. And then you can look at progressing them up. What you have to do is you have to give them a progression path. If they don't have a progression path when they enter your company, why would they stay? If they're just going to stay in that role, they can't see anything past that. You need to give them that journey that they can go on with you. Why do you want to grow your career in high-ticket sales? Now, this is an open-ended question. Typically, I'm looking for people who have a lot of incentive, have a lot of drive, and I want long answers. Another one is, why are you considering leaving your current role? If you don't have one, answer NA. Now, in most cases, in the industry that we work in, a lot of appointment setter offers, they tend to go out of business. And the reason that is the offer owner wasn't a very good business owner. They didn't really understand it. They hired someone too quickly, and then ultimately they went. That's the problem. So in most cases, you want to see, why are you leaving your current role? You've got to know that. Where you see yourself in 1 year from now? It's very simple. Please describe any relevant sales experience. What are the niche sales offers you have experience in? And this is the important one. Please submit a link to a short 2-3 minute video explaining why you'd be the best fit for this role. This is the next barrier or gate that they've got to get through. And then also, how did you come across this application form? That's because we're posting in lots of different communities, so we want to see which one's intaking the best people and the most consistently. So what happens after that? So you've found a community, you've posted in there, you've got your intake form live, which is over here, and then you are going to be reviewing those submissions that people have on the form. And what you can now do is you can do this with AI. Now, we have an AI tool which basically goes through all the candidates, it watches all their Loom videos, it assesses them based on criteria that we've given it. And within 15 minutes, it can review about 60 applications and it can say, hey, here are the people that you should view. And it's at that point that we then watch those Loom videos. We don't watch all 60 Loom videos. We watch the ones that we know fit the criteria that we are looking for and that the AI has sourced for us. You've got to get efficient with this process. You want to meet as many people as possible to increase the likelihood that you find someone worth your time and worth investing in as an employee. And that's why we do it. We use AI to decrease that time so that you can find the best people. If you want me to do a video on the AI actual analysis and how we do it and how we get those people, then do let me know. I didn't want to include it in this because I want it to be short, sharp, and concise. But if that's something you're interested in, comment below and I'm very happy to do a video on how we do that. Cool. So you're going to review those videos, you're going to find the best people, and what you're going to do is you are going to schedule an interview with them. Now we're at the interview process. Bear in mind, they've gone through an intake form. They've submitted a Loom video. In our case, we have AI analyze that Loom video to see if they are the best candidate. So there's already 3 gates that they have gone through before you're even on a call with them. And this is the problem. Most people go, oh, someone submitted, I must get on a call with them. No, protect your time. You're a business owner. You shouldn't be spending your time on a call with every single candidate. You should only be on a call with the best. So what do? Once you're in that interview, we can also run you through the questions that we like to ask on an interview. Actually, let me get that up for you. Cool. So these are the questions that we tend to ask. Now, this is actually from our own coach, something that they suggested for us. We had our own process, but we found that this one's been more battle tested. So we went for this one. And this is the thing. You can take knowledge from other places like this video, and you can apply it to your own process. And that's exactly what we did. Now, I'm not going to go through all these questions, but essentially you want an introduction of them going, you know what? How did you get here? Why do you want to be in sales? What's your life story? How did you get to this point? Then you want to assess their experience and skills assessment. You can obviously see on screen a couple of examples. If you want to take them, feel free. Then there's the role-playing situational questions. Now for us, I'm going to show you what we do. Because they're DM setters, it's a little bit tricky to do a role play unless you're doing like a WhatsApp chat on the call. Instead, we've come up with a task for the setters that we interview so that we can assess their sober chat ability. But if you're hiring for a phone setting role, especially, then you can do these role-playing questions and make sure that they are actually adequate at running through a sales process, essentially. Cool. And then we do a cultural fit and closing questions. So, why do you want to be here? What is it about us that you want to do? Where do you want to be in 10 years? You want to see how long will this person be with you? Because they're not going to be with you for long. There's no point in hiring them. So these are the questions that we ask. When you are on the interview as well, make sure you have an AI listener. Now I use Notion, here's an example, and it basically just breaks down the interview really nicely, because if you're interviewing a lot of people, believe me, you do not remember everyone that you met and you can't remember exactly what they say. So having an AI listener in the calls will save you a ton of time. You can go, who was that candidate? Oh, there's the notes. I remember who that was. And it just gives you that nice reference point that you can go back to when you're deciding on who to hire. So always recommend having that. Cool. Then what we do, as I mentioned, is we have our own test that we like to put candidates through. So this test is here. And essentially what we do is we get them to analyze chats. Now we only hire for DM setters, so naturally the task is around that. But in your instance, if you're hiring for a phone setter, for example, or another sales role, you would need to create a task that is specific to that role. Now in our case, we get them to analyze these chats. And we only ask them 3 questions. You want the task to be simple. The worst thing is when they procrastinate it. You've asked them for a Loom video, like, oh, can you go through the task? They look at the task and they're like, well, this is going to take a while, and they procrastinate it. We're all about speed. So make the task simple so they can fill it out quickly and you can decide yay or nay to that candidate. Speed is everything when it comes to hiring. Like I said, they analyze the chats and we ask them 3 questions. We say, after reading this conversation, what could have been done better? And so they typically submit a Loom video or just a video going through, and we usually say maximum 10 minutes, but if someone can cram it into 5 and be concise, that's what I'm looking for. I want someone who's concise, specific, to the point. Next, we have question 2, which is what were the persuasion techniques used in this chat and why each one was used at that specific moment. Now we ask this question for a very specific reason. I want to know the baseline of what their sales experience is and what kind of frameworks they've used, what psychology do they know, and I just want to get an understanding of the theory side that they know, because if they understand the theory, it's a lot easier to take that into the real world and execute on it. But if they don't have anything from the theory side, it's very tricky. And you realize that you're spending a lot more time training when they should just be executing. Next question is, based on this conversation, what can you observe about the prospect's personality type and buying behavior? That's a crucial one as well. Coming back to what I said earlier, I want to know, do they know the personality type of these people? We have very specific techniques that we like to do in Sell by Chat, one of which is identifying the personality type of the prospect and making sure that your tonality, your language, your message length, all these different things matches that personality type. So I'm at this point, I'm looking, going, how advanced are you in the Sell by Chat world? That's why we ask that question. And we give them 3 chats to look at, all different chats from different opening types. This one was completely cold. This one's from a lead magnet. If you don't know what that is, essentially a little pocket of value that you give away in a post. It could be a PDF, it could be a video, whatever, and people opt in for it. They go, hey, I want this. You send it to them. So that's a lead magnet open. And then we also have a mutual connection. So, hey, I saw you know this person. How do you know them? And that's the open, and getting them to the booked call. So we give them 3 chats that they go through. They then send us through those videos. Now, of course, because you've withered down these people, you see, it's just a process, like a funnel. It just goes down and down and down. At this point, you should really be reviewing about 4 to 5 videos, no more than that. You don't really want to be watching 4 to 5 10-minute videos potentially. I mean, obviously some will be shorter, some will be longer, but ultimately you want these people to already be in your mind as like, you know what, I'm liking this person, this is good. And that's when you put them through the task. And then you can decide from the task who had the best ability and seem like someone who are an A player and are gonna really dedicate their time to the role. So that's what you're looking for. Once I've gone through the task, we then say, hey, we would like you to do a trial week. Now, an important note, only give them access to communication channels in the actual trial week. Now, obviously you want to give them access to the, your LinkedIn. In our instance, we work with LinkedIn offers. If it's Instagram, whatever, you want to give them access to that, but just keep it minimal because at this point it's a trial week. You don't want to onboard them fully and then, you get through the trial and you're like, you know what, I'm not feeling this person. You have to offboard them. It's a whole process. So just keep it simple, minimum amount that they need to succeed in that trial week and for you to assess their ability. And what we do in that trial week is we're actually on a call with them every single day. You've got to make an investment in this person and they're going to be with you long term. So you do want to spend some time with them and actually make sure there's someone worth having on your team. So every single day we have a call with them and we say, look, let's send some DMs, see how they're going. They can ask questions. They can say, okay, I'm doing this. And then at some point, usually around the mid mark of the week, we get them to do a chat on their own so that we can assess their ability of them taking the prospect all the way to the book meeting. We can see, okay, this person possesses the abilities we're looking for. They've been able to do it effectively. And in best case scenario, they've booked a meeting in that trial week. That is ideal. At least one meeting, you've read it through and you've gone, yep, this is perfect. They didn't force it. This is a good meeting booked. That's what you're looking for. After the trial week, you can either say, actually, I'm not quite there yet. I may need a little bit longer. You can always extend it a little bit more. But at the end of the trial week, you should have an understanding of actually this person's worth my time. Another important note, you can have more than one person on a trial week. Now, I wouldn't recommend it because you obviously want to invest in that person, make sure they're happy and stuff. But if you really cannot decide between two candidates, you can put them both on a trial week, and whoever comes out best at the end, you hire. So that's what I would recommend. Cool. Then end of trial week, you literally sign the contract, and that's when you onboard them fully. You give them their own email, you get them to sign the contract, all these different things, and you get them on board as your employee who is hopefully going to crush it and hopefully match some of our setters here. This was last week. Two of our setters, once it loads, they booked 9 meetings last week. So hopefully they can match that. And that is how you hire a setter effectively.